Bhavare mana pranavananda guru rupo manohar. Bhavare mana pranavananda guru rupo manohar. Patita bandhu premera sindhu Bhakat Ranjanakari. Bhavare mana pranavananda guru rupo manohari. Nilendri baranindi nayan sneho dala kamalanan Koti Indu Sundar Sumadura Baliyare. Bhavare mana pranavananda guru rupo manohari. Chacha chikur siro manohar thil pool nashika sundar kushmeri mala ratno jwala Dhaliche hai vajare. Bhavare mana pranavananda guru rupo manohari. मन की आंखें खोल बाबा मन की आंखें खोल मन की आंखें खोल बाबा मन की आंखें खोल बाबा मन की आंखें खोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल 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 दुनिया क्या है एक तमाशा 4 दिनों की झूठी आशा दुनिया क्या है एक तमाशा 4 दिनों की झूठी आशा ज्ञान तराजू हाथ में लेकर तोल सके को तोल बाबा मन की आंखें खोल बाबा मन की आंखें खोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल 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 Adorations to Swami Parameshananda ji, the first song that we sang. Bhavare man. Let that mind with full devotion and faith be at the feet of Swami Parameshananda ji or the Guru that you worship. Let it be on the feet of the Christ. Let it be on the feet of the Buddha and Krishna and Lord Shiva and Mother Durga and all the deities that are credible to be worshipped and incarnations of consciousness. And then when troubles are coming to you from all sides, then what you should do, you should be calling the name of the Lord. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. Why? Because He's the sustainer. And Swami Parameshananda ji and all Krishna Bhagwan, these are all sustainers. They've come to remind us of what is the ideal of life. And one of the things that we should keep in mind all the time, and this is the theme of our talk this morning, is that wisdom is avoiding thoughts that weaken us. And Swami Parameshananda would have said in his Shanghabani, 10 Divine Messages, that what are real sins? He would have said weakness, fear, cowardice, meanness, and selfishness. That when our attention is on these kinds of weak thoughts, or they allow us, we assemble of our thoughts, and then we give our thoughts, we give words to it, and then actions. Weakness, fear, cowardice, meanness, and selfishness. Now, what is weakness? Weakness, Krishna Bhagavan would have said it in Gita, lust, greed, and anger. That when we are entertaining these thoughts, our minds become pulled away and dragged into the world of pleasure, not in bliss. And then we fall off the path towards our moksha and liberation. That the thoughts of lust, it is that plagues the whole thing. Swami Parameshananda would have said again, what is religion? Self-sacrifice, self-abnegation, self-discipline, adherence to truth, and countenance. That word countenance is in synthesis with what Krishna Bhagavan was saying, lust, greed, and anger. That if we could avoid these three things, the triple gateway to hell, then what will happen? We will be having a beautiful life. And Krishna Bhagavan would have said it in Gita also. We'll be going to chapter 2, verse 62 and verse 63. Dhyayato vishayam pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama krodha vijayate krodha bhavati sammoha smriti brahm sad buddhi nashat pranashati. And this is in chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, that divine knowledge. And what he's saying here, thoughts centered on objects of the senses give birth to attachments. From attachment springs desires. Frustrated desires transforms itself into anger. Anger causes forgetfulness of what is right and what is wrong. Thus, together with the death of the conscience brings forgetfulness of all the instructions of the scriptures and the spiritual masters. With the loss of this memory, a man is no longer able to discriminate between the good and the bad, between what is abiding and what is temporary. And when this power of discrimination is lost, man ceases to be man in the true sense. And this is what we have to avoid. And there is a story that I might have given, that we have to be very careful, that we should pay attention to our own upliftment. And then when we lift ourselves up, the energy that we vibrate, then that is the best teaching for our children, for our spouse, for our everyone, loved ones, and also enemies around us. Because the greatest thing that saps our energy when we have resentment for someone, hatred for someone, anger, because when that happens, there's no such justification of resentment. In other words, if we look and see why we hate someone, it's not because of that person, but it's because that we are not elevated enough to see that person, or even ourselves, and we acceptance that we are on the evolution to path to perfection. And Swami Parameshananda would have said, what is the goal of life? Self-realization. Let us get that self-realization, and then we can bring people with us. When Krishna came, the Christ came, and all the incarnations, the power that they exhumed would have nullified the negativism of 700 million people. A test was done. Power versus force. You read that book by David Wright. Now, when you come to this, the example I want to give to these two sloka is that there was a person who was struggling, a young lady, to live her life, to sustain, put food on the table and a roof over her head. So she was gone into that age-old profession where she uses her body to earn income. But there was a religious man across the street. I can't say he's holy, but religious, highly adept in the scriptures, Brahmin. And he would call the lady one day and say, ma'am, listen, I know you're noticing that you are doing something wrong. And right to the way the lady started crying, young lady, beautiful. And she's crying, Babaji, I can't help it. I can't provide food. I tried to go away from this, and I seem like I'm going to starve to death. And please pray for me and see if I could make a change. And Babaji said yes, and the religious man, and go. And she went, and she couldn't manage and go back to it. And then to justify his existence, the religious man started piling rocks in front of his house. And every time a customer came for her, he would have put a rock there. And after some time, both of them grow old, and there was like a little mountain in front of his house. And it so happened to die the same day. And they went to reckoning for their so-called going to heaven or hell. They both came to judgment, and the lady came first. And she was crying, and the Lord was laughing, and he's saying, oh, my devotee, while you were doing that profession, your body was separated from your mind, and your body was just an instrument for earning money. But your mind was totally on me all the time, and you cried, and you showed devotion. Oh, my devotee, you're forgiven for that, and you will come and be with me. And then the religious man would have said, oh, but look what she has been doing. And look at this big heap of rock there in front of my house. And he says, yeah, you are minding my business. While the devotee was being in relationship with me, your mind was with her and all the wrong things she's doing. For this, you've wasted your time. You've been judgmental. Please, you have to go into that place of suffering until your next birth. And the holy man said, why is this? Well, the sloka is saying, Krishna Bhagavan is saying to us, let us think of ourselves, how we uplift ourselves. And when we have that energy, then let us try to bring everyone else. Self-realization, universal emancipation. This morning, it's a very big, short message, and you can go in chapter 2, verse 62 and 63. Let us avoid thoughts that weaken us. We have the ability to lift ourselves up. Let us come to the realization that we are already gods and goddesses. Let us come to that realization. We'll do the arati, but before that, let's chant some inspirational and devotional prayers so that we can lift ourselves up. Sangham sharanam gacchami, Om dharmam sharanam gacchami, Om pranavam sharanam gacchami, Om acharyam sharanam gacchami, Om Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, Om Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Om Acharyam Sharanam Gacchami. We're saying, okay, let us surrender Sangam to the ashram. Dharmam, let us surrender to the scriptures, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the Dharma, our duty and if we perform this duty, we'll be going. And who is surrendering? The Pranavananda. We're surrendering to the Christ. We surrender to the Buddha. And we surrender to Krishna and all the realized incarnations. And who is this Pranavananda? Om Namo Sri Bhagavate Pranavaya. Om Namo Sri Bhagavate Pranavaya. Namo Namah, Namo Namah, Namo Namah, Namo Namah, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Prabhu Namah Shivaya. Tumhi Brahma Vishnu, Tumhi Maheshwara, Devadi Deva Mahadevaya Namah. Tumhi Brahma Vishnu, Tumhi Maheshwara, Devadi Deva Mahadevaya Namah. Om Namo Sri Bhagavate Pranavaya. Om Namo Sri Bhagavate Pranavaya. Who is this Pranavananda? He's the creator of the universe. He's the sustainer of the universe. And he is the one to eradicate all our sufferings through his energy that he emanates from his meditation. Let us learn the language of silence through our calming of our mind, calming of our body. And then that language of silence is the language of God. Silence and consciousness, the unmanifested state of consciousness, the Lord without name and form, silence and consciousness cannot be divided. They are synonymous. Om Gange Chayamane Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jale Asmin Snanidhim Kuru. Join with me as you do Mansika Puja. You're far away, you're in India, you're Nepal, you're Guyana, you're Trinidad, all over the world, you're joining him. Do Mansika Puja with me. The power of the mind can be transported anywhere and perform any action. Let us come bring that mind to our presence this morning. We've made this water holy like the Ganges and all the rivers of India. And we'll make this place a place of pilgrimage. Om Kurukshetra Gaya Ganga Prabhasa Pushkarani Cha Tirtanyatani Punyani Kale Bhavantuha. And we've taken a nice bath. Now Om Amrito Pasternamasi Swaha. Purify the inside. Amrita Pidhanamasi Swaha. Om Satyam Yasha Srimayi Srayatam Swaha. Cleansing of the hands. Om Shanno Devi Ravishtayapo Bhavanta Pitaye Shanno Ravi Sravantunam. Join with me as I purify the various organs. What in the left hand, right finger, ring finger, we touch them. And these are the sense organs. We want them to be in peak performance. Om Vak Vak mouth, Om Prana Prana nose, Om Chakshu Chakshu eyes, Om Srotram Srotram ear, Om Navi navel, Om Hridayam heart, Om Kantaha throat, Om Siraha head, Om Bahobhyam shoulder, Yashobalam legs, Om Karatala Kara Prishti. Let my whole body be in peak performance to take me on to that place of my moksha. Om Dhyana Moolam Guru Murti Puja Moolam Guru Param Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa. Om Lakshmi karotu kalyam arogyam sukha sampada mama satru vinashaya deepa jyoti namostute. Now we light a lamp of knowledge. Om Sahasra Shirisha Purusha Sahasrakshu Sahasrapat Sabhumin Sarvato Sritva Atyatishta Dashangulam Om Sarvatah Pani Param Tat Sarvato Akshishiro Mukam Sarvatah Sroti Maloke Sarvamavritya Tishtati Om Jyotishamapita Jyoti Tamasaha Paramuchyate Jnanam Geyam Jnanagamyam Riddhi Sarvasya Vishtitam Om Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasho Sharanam Surit Prava Pralaya Sthanam Nidhanam Bijamabhayam Om Tvamadi Deva Purusha Purana Tvamasya Visvasya Param Nidhanam Tvamabhayo Swasvato Dharma Gupta Sanatanastvam Purusho Matome Om Pitasi Lokasya Characharasya Tvamasya Pujasya Garur Garyam Natvat samo asti abhyadika Koto anyo lokatrahi Apiya pratimam prabhao Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Guru Om Shiva Om Guru Om Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. Join me as we decorate the feet of Guruji, Swami Parameshananda, and put flowers and perfume, adoration, we want to treat him like a king. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Guru Om Shiva Om Guru Om Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. O Lord, with this scent of the agarbatti, I surrender my sense of smell to you. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. O Lord, with this light, I surrender my sense of sight to you that makes up my mind. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. With this shell I surrender the sense of taste, water. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. With this Trishul, an instrument of protection, I surrender my three innate qualities, tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. With this fan, I honor you like a king, and with this air that I created, this is my sense of touch. I surrender to you. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. Let my singing and my bhajans be in the surrounding my sense of sound. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om. With this flower, I worship you with honor. Om Karo Jaya Guru Om Karo Jaya Shiva Om. I've surrendered my five elements to you, my body, five senses, my mind to you. And with my intellect, I'm coming close to you. I understand you. The knowledge that you have given, I let my mind be surrendered. And my ego has been crushed. Om Ajnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. O Mantra Satyam Puja Satyam Satyam Deva Niranjana Gururvakyam Sara Satyam Satyameva Paramam Param. Om Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatparam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Om Pitri Matri Surira Bandhu Vidyatirtani Devata Natulyam Guruna Segram Sparshayet Paramam Param. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Deva Maheshwara Gurur Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Om Dhyana Moolam Guru Murti Puja Moolam Guru Param Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukaram Kevalam Dhyana Murti Dantwatitam gagana sadrisham tattvamasyaadilakshyam Om ekam nityam bhimalam chalam sarvara sakshi bhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tam namami om. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhusya saka tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva om. Om Guru Kripahi Kevalam Guru Kripahi Kevalam Om Guru Kripahi Kevalam Guru Kripahi Kevalam Om Guru Kripahi Kevalam Guru Kripahi Kevalam Guru Kripahi Kevalam Guru Kripahi Kevalam. Om Bolo Sisi Guru Maharaj ki jai, Sab Santan ki jai jai Sitaram. All the deities we pay adoration. Again, devotees, nice to have you with me this morning in prayer. And I hope you've learned one thing we need to do this morning. Avoid thoughts that weaken us. That's the greatest wisdom. And what are these thoughts? Lust, greed, and anger, the triple gateway to suffering in this lifetime, in this birth, and births to come. Lust, greed, and anger. Let us get rid of them. And we did chapter 2, verse 62 and 63. Go and look at them again and keep this one thing in mind. If you learned one thing this morning, and that's the avoid thoughts, lust and greed and anger. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om. And I'll bring the camera closer to the Paduka with Mansika Puja. Just bow down, nice and beautiful. And to the Guruji, the Paduka, and take your blessings. Have the wisdom and the humility to give up like we were giving up our body, the 5 elements in our body, and the 5 senses to wake up our mind, to surrender our mind. And with the intelligence, we have surrendered, crushed the ego. So we are left with just consciousness. We are gods without name and form, and with name and form. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om.